Welcome to the Coronavirus Update Show. I am your host, Nikki Barron, joined by my awesome co-host, Omari Salisbury, who usually does the intro, but I got to do the intro today.
Yeah, I've been over here. I've listened. It's always honesty is the best policy with our viewers. And I was trying to get this tweet out, and I just did to let people know that we're on air now. Coronavirus Update Show. We're back. But also, we need your help right now. This is also a great opportunity for you to tag and share this stream with people who want some, culturally relevant information around coronavirus. That's why we launched the Coronavirus Update Show, to keep our community informed as to what is going on. I want to welcome you back, producer Nikki Barron. The last time we saw you on the Coronavirus Update Show, you were right here in the studio.
I was, yeah. I'm back at home now doing my remote broadcast, spending less time in the studio.
I know, but it was great to see you here, though, because it doesn't have an option. So it gave that episode of the Coronavirus Update Show like a whole nother grand feeling to it. But as usual, your home studio is on and popping. I see your cat Clementine is back there hanging out.
Yeah, let's see. She just sits behind me during the whole show. She's just like, hi, and she'll talk, like make little noises. So if you hear weird meeping noises.
So we'll take Clementine too. All right, as usual, Coronavirus Update Show, we get right into the numbers. So I'll hand it off to you. What are the numbers looking like?
Yeah, let me pull up this handy dandy dashboard that we get from the state of Washington. So we health officials have reported 799 new infections, bringing us to a grand total of coronavirus of 342,236 total cases. We've got a 7% positivity rate. Statewide ICU capacity is at 81%, and we've administered 1,760,668 vaccines, which takes the only number I haven't reported yet here, which is pretty jarring, is that the Washington State Department of Health reported an additional 24 coronavirus deaths today, and that brought us to a total of 5,012, which is, a pretty gnarly point to hit. We've just surpassed 5,000 Washingtonians dying from the coronavirus. And for King County, we actually have 1,406 of those deaths here. So it's a really terrible number that we just hit. We hit that 500,000 mark for the United States like 2 weeks ago. And we just hit 5,000 here for the state of Washington.
Wow, and King County is just over 1,000. So King County makes up just over 20%, 24%.
Yeah, about 1,400 of those deaths are in King County. Yeah.
Now, speaking of King County and also in the state of Washington as a whole, I guess there's been some changes. We had President Joe Biden talk about vaccinations for teachers and a few other people. And then also locally here, there's been some changes as far as who's eligible for the vaccination. What's that all about?
Yeah, so public health has now set up two permanent community vaccination sites, one in Kent and one in Auburn. And those have been expanded to vaccinate anybody who is 65 and older. So you no longer have to be a healthcare worker or have a multi-generational household. If you're over 65, you can go to one of these sites to get your vaccine. And so the requirements are to register. So you have to be 65 and older, or a caregiver, home worker taking care of someone aged 50 or older who can't live independently. And specific groups that are over 50, which include people who are unable to live independently, people receiving care from a caregiver, relative, or in-home caregiver, people who are living with and caring for people in their family. So an example might be a grandchild, like if you're a grandparent, you take care of a grandchild and you're over 50, you can get the vaccine now. It used to be you had to be over 65 for that. Does not include parents that live with their children, even if the parent is over 50, that doesn't count. So those vaccination sites are going to be open Monday through Saturday, 8:30 to 5:30. You just head to the to the Washington State Public Health website to get registered. But we also have another interesting thing here as far as expansion goes, and that is that the city of Seattle has opened up a standby list. So if you are over 65, you can go to the city of Seattle mayor's office site to register for standby. And basically what that means is if we are doing, say, a mass vaccination clinic in a neighborhood and there's a couple of doses left, rather than risk those doses going bad, they actually have a list that will text. So they'll send out a text to the person who lives in that neighborhood who qualifies, who's over 65, to come right then. I think you have an hour to get there and get your vaccine. So there's that opportunity as well. So even if you are waiting on an appointment, you might be able to get in sooner if you are on the mayor's standby list. So we've got a couple of different expansions happening. And then, like you said, the governor released a statement, I think just a few hours after President Biden did, saying that he has added school workers and teachers to this phase of the vaccine, so they can go and get their vaccines now.
Yeah, getting these kids back to school is a big heated issue, not only here in Seattle and across the state of Washington, but also the country as well. So I guess that's good news to see there is as far as the vaccine and teachers go. And I know also you talked about City of Seattle on the standby list. The City of Seattle also launched some vaccination sites, right?
I believe so. I don't have that list here of exactly where the vaccination sites are for the city.
Well, I can help you out then on that. So,
hey,
Lumen Field, El SWAC out
yes,
in West Seattle, and then right there, Rainier Beach near the boat launch. And these aren't like walk-up vaccinations. You need a referral there, but these are vaccination clinics that are, like I said, Lumen Field, Rainier Beach, and out in West Seattle. And so it's more of the city of Seattle's effort to try to get more and more people vaccinated.
I'm hoping we can get our vaccine soon, Omari. I know I think we're in the next phase because journalism is considered essential workers. And then I also have like comorbidities. And so I think we might be in this next round. So I'm excited. You know me, every day I'm like, is it our turn yet? Can we go get ours yet? I'm like, give it to me. I'll be that first Johnson & Johnson one. Give it. Yeah.
I know you've been anxiously awaiting your turn for the vaccine. I'm chilling.
You're a little less anxious to get it.
I mean, I'm just kind of one of them people, man. Just happy-go-lucky. I think that I'm hoping and praying that I'll be fine, and by the time the opportunity comes around to it, that we'll see what happens. But I know for sure we need to get you that vaccine.
Yeah,
that's what you've been looking for. What else you got for us today?
So speaking of vaccines, we just got the approval just a few days ago for the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a single dose vaccination. And this addition of this vaccine is pretty amazing because we've now been able to push up that timeline, according to President Joe Biden. I shouldn't call him just Joe Biden. President Joe Biden, that we are now going to be able to vaccinate any adult who wants one by the end of May. We'll at least have enough doses, if not enough infrastructure to give it, which is a pretty big improvement. Last I heard, they had been saying July. So so this new Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it's super, super effective. We've heard a lot of, I think, not misinformation, but information that takes little context when it comes to this vaccine. For example, people talk a lot about the fact that it is only about 66% effective. But it's important to note that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been tested during these more viral strains, the more aggressive strains, whereas the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine were both at the beginning with that much lighter COVID variant. So there is a lot of research saying that if you put them up side by side now, they'd probably all have about that 60 to 70% efficacy. So that's like the number one thing that I've been seeing a lot of people talking about is they're saying it's just not as good. But when it comes to effectiveness for preventing death, all of the vaccines are 100% effective against preventing COVID deaths if you've had all your required doses. And it's also about 85. It's about 85% effective against a severe case of COVID, as well as hospitalizations. So that's really what we're looking for with this vaccination. We're not really looking for people to like not get COVID at all, but rather keep them from getting a severe case or being hospitalized or even dying from it. And all three of these vaccines do that super well. So it's really good news that we have this Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Other great things about this vaccine is it's a single dose. It can be stored in a regular refrigeration system that any pharmacy or hospital has. It doesn't need that deep freeze. It travels better. Apparently, the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine is very fragile, and it actually takes a very particular amount of mixing. You have to turn it upside down and right side up exactly 10 times before you give the dose. With the Johnson & Johnson one, it doesn't matter if it gets shaken, it's still good. So there's a lot of really great things when it comes to this Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Other great benefits, it's faster. So you only need one dose and it starts working within 14 days. Whereas if you have the 2 doses, you're not fully vaccinated until 2 weeks after your final dose, which could be 8 weeks from the initial dose. So you get that faster protection, which is really helpful to help us getting things going, as people are going to get the vaccine and then within 2 weeks be ready to go, be safe. Whereas the other one, you still have to really socially distance and quarantine pretty hard after your first dose for that next 6 to 8 weeks. And this one has shown 0 problems for people who have any sort of allergy to vaccinations. So, and actually when they asked Dr. Fauci about it, would you get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? He said, yeah, he would definitely get the vaccine. And we've got a little clip of him talking about it.
With a third COVID vaccine now approved for emergency use, there is new hope that the effort to vaccinate America will speed up. Johnson & Johnson set to deliver 4 million doses of its vaccine this week. The FDA's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP, recommending the vaccine for people 18 and older.
You now have 3 highly efficacious vaccines. If you go to a place and you have J&J and that's the one that's available now, I would take it. I personally would do the same thing. I think people need to get vaccinated as quickly and as expeditiously as possible.
In clinical trials, J&J's vaccine demonstrated a 72% efficacy in the United States and was 100% effective at preventing COVID-related deaths. The vaccine can also be stored at regular refrigeration levels and requires just 1 dose.
Johnson & Johnson is going to be a game changer. The fact that we can fully vaccinate everyone in just 1 shot, it's just going to get us to the finish line that much faster.
Still, for now, getting shots into arms hasn't been a smooth process. In Washington, D.C., the mayor and health officials say technical issues with their vendor caused their site to crash as people tried to sign up for appointments. While California, which has faced delays and issues with distribution of its vaccines, is set to roll out a new statewide network today, run by Blue Shield. And as more states lift restrictions, health experts warn that even though daily cases and deaths are declining, they still remain too high.
Now is not the time to relax restrictions.
Johnson & Johnson pledges that they'll get 4 million doses out this week, but officials caution that supply could be spotty in the next few weeks as well. Still, the company says they'll get 20 million doses out by the end of the month. They also say they're going to begin trials with pregnant women and children under the age of 18.
All right. So also what happened is that through the Defense Production Act, the Merck is now working to produce more Johnson & Johnson vaccine to fill their facility.
Yeah. Oh, you sound a little stuffed up. Is your mic covered?
Do I
There we
sound
go.
so- Oh,
There we
no,
go.
I was just relaxed.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. Okay, I can hear you
Well, I was
now.
saying to the Defense Production Act that Merck is actually going to be producing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at 2 of their facilities.
Yeah, it's great to see that these competitors are also getting in there. You know, they didn't develop the vaccine, but they're going to jump in and help out and make sure that we get enough vaccines out the door. This Johnson & Johnson one, it makes me feel super hopeful because it's a much simpler approach to vaccination than the Moderna and Pfizer one, and yet it still gives you a ton of great protection. So I'm really excited about it. I have a feeling that this is going to end up being the one that I get based on my phase. But yeah, there's nothing but good news when it comes to this Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
All right, and to some of the comments here, I see my mama, she's already watching, #1 fan, said that the Central Area Senior Center there just off of 30th and Jackson in the Central Area, Seattle, they're signing up elders for vaccination. And then our people over at Aging King County said, hey, Nikki and Omari, please give a shout out to Miss Linda Green at Southeast Seattle Senior Center, who is helping sign people up for vaccines. So here's your shout out. Good stuff.
Yeah, your mom also asked how many people have recovered from COVID-19. So that would be 318,111 people have recovered that we know of from COVID. Really, you know, the big scary with COVID, you know, we have about a 1.5% death rate here in Washington state, but it's things like long COVID. You know, everyone I know who's had COVID is still experiencing symptoms of COVID months later. I haven't met a single person who's had COVID and completely recovered. So I think that that's really going to be a huge thing going forward is once we get vaccinated, we're going to be less likely to get those severe cases, but those severe cases, you know, people are going to be dealing with this for a long time.
Right. Got anything else for us tonight?
You know, the last headline I guess I would hit is that, you know, Texas and Missouri have decided that that COVID doesn't exist anymore, apparently. Oh, yeah, Mississippi. They just don't seem to care that COVID is a thing. They've opened up 100%. There's no longer mask mandates, which is pretty scary for me. My entire family lives there. My grandmother and her brother just died from COVID less than a month ago. And her whole family on her side, you know, had COVID, nieces, other aunts and uncles. So I really feel like this is not the time to be doing this type of thing. It also feels like it's going to affect the rest of the United States. You know, we don't have like closed borders between our states, and that's not something I think we've ever done in history that I could find. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and if this is a trend or if it's just going to be these 2 outliers.
All right. Yeah, I saw that. It's big news. A lot of people talking about they're on their way to Texas.
No, run away from Texas, run away. And their positivity rate is something like 17%. Their death rate's like 7%. So it's like really not a good situation. They have less than 7% of their population vaccinated. There's absolutely no reason for Texas to be opening up this way. And I have to imagine that it's some type of political thing, you know, for him to sort of this idea that I think a lot of Texas political people have is that they're
from the power failure.
Yeah, and there's this idea, I think, in the Republican side of the government that like personal responsibility and this concept that people will do what's best for community. They don't have to be legislated to do it, that they will just do it. But we have seen time and time again that it's absolutely not the case. People follow the rules and they are, you know, they're led by example. And so for them to remove that, I think we're going to see huge spikes in Texas. I would be surprised if within, you know, a month that this is still a thing, because it's absolutely the most dangerous thing that they could be doing for the United States. There's no country, there's no state anywhere. I think the closest we can get is like New Zealand and Australia as far as opening up. So yeah, it just seems out of left field and just seems really bad. And I just know people are not going to take the personal responsibility and wear masks. So it's a scary thing for me. So I'll be keeping an eye on that.
All right. That's what's up. Well, it's about that time. We're going to get out of here for tonight. You can catch us tomorrow morning on the Morning Update Show at 11 a.m. And the next episode of the Coronavirus Update Show will be next Monday at 6:15 p.m. Any last words, Nikki, before we get out of here?
No, I mean my typical, which are wear your mask, wash your hands, and physically distance whenever possible. And let's keep Washington State safe. Let's set the example and keep leading the nation in the lowest deaths and cases, because I'm very proud that that is something that we're doing here. So good job, Washington. Keep it up.
All right. With that, I gave you the last word. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.